Rami, Malek, Carly, Chaikin, Christian, Slater, and the writer and tech consultant for Adana.
All right.
We could just sit here and bask in the applause for a while if you'd like. Or, so one thing I want to congratulate you all on, sort of on behalf of my posse here, is how the show, traditionally most shows that have hacker characters, there's sort of these MacGuffin pieces that exist to move the plot along. You know, we can't find the red car. This would be like NCIS. We can't find the red car. I'll use Kaleidoscope. Oh, look, it's on the 5. Okay, thank you. And they move on. But Mr. Robot is sort of the first show to actually incorporate hacking as the vehicle for the whole plot. And that, I think, is a huge sea change for us, and it really makes us excited to sort of be a part of it. And so with that, we really want to see you guys succeed, and we want to really thank you for those honest portrayals. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So before I really start hammering you guys with questions, I have one question. Who came up with the name F Society?
I did.
You did? Because I get this feeling that we're not being totally honest with F Society, because there's always that half-baked you. Right.
Well, that's right. It used to be, the arcade used to be Fun Society.
Used to be Fun
Right.
Society.
You're not really owning FU Society.
It could be, it could be F Society taken as, another
That's-
4-letter word.
Right. That we may or may not be able to confirm.
Right.
True. But Sam Esmail is the one that came up with it.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
So that is really important, that half-baked you is always present.
yes,
Okay.
definitely.
That's right.
Okay, so my first question is for Rami. So people seem to really respond to your flawed character. He's got, a whole list of problems. Socially isolated, he's lonely. But people really respond to that. First off, are you surprised of that reaction? It's a really human character. And when you were reading for it, or were you thinking about the role, is that something that really drew you to the role? Like you got to really explore all these new emotions? Or, I'd like to just hear your thoughts on that.
Looking in this audience, I see a lot of people who look socially isolated. I think, he was just, for our day, I think a modern type of hero in that he was so flawed and alienated and felt so different from everybody else. And that's just something I think we could all relate to, and people have related to.
Did you seek that out?
Did I seek it out?
Yeah, like when you're looking for your next role, were you like, I need a wide range of emotion, or what drew you to being this disassociated identity hacker?
I saw someone who just is so flawed, was going through such, grief and tragedy, and didn't really know how to communicate with people, still doesn't. And at the same time, he was, trying to do something about the situation he lived in, the world he lived in. He really thought he could change things. And I thought that was, really heroic in a way that was real. It wasn't like, I liked how unbalanced he was, and I think, we talk about this a lot, is you see characters like that who are so challenging and terrifying, and when I read it, I was like, this is scary. This is going to be really hard to do. And that's when I was like, let's do it, jumping in.
Yeah, those are the things like we get excited about. It's like when it is scary and you're like trepidatious and not really sure you want to dive into it, it's like, you know what, I'm just going to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, you get outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so from a show of hands, like who here does their hacking because you want to change the world or you want to make things better, right?
All right.
It's somewhat of a motivator for people. They don't all want to hack to destroy the world. And so I think...
Is everybody here a hacker?
No, but all these guys in the shirts that are...
Who's a hacker?
The ones that are running the space, right? And this guy over here, I know he's a hacker, yeah. but so I think we identify with that character wanting to make a change. And it's an interesting space, right? In society, in hacking, it's the one area where an individual can make a big contribution as opposed to having to be part of a megacorp.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so here's a question for everybody. Anybody jump in, right? Like I mentioned, it's a show essentially about dissociative identity disorder and hacking. And did you think it would be a breakthrough success, sort of a runaway, as acclaimed it as it is? Or is it, meant to be more of an art house piece, and now it's like due to just you've tapped into something that nobody knew was there?
I mean, I know that Sam, his expectation or hope was to have like a little cult following and, people to like it and think it's cool. I always, from the moment I read the pilot, believed in the script and the show, but you have no idea you can never tell how people are going to react to it.
Yeah.
So I think, our goal was, the biggest hope that we could have was that people would appreciate it and love it and think it's as special as we do. And so I don't think anyone was really thinking about like, oh, is this gonna take off? And it was really, what I love about Sam is that it wasn't about that. It was like really about just making
As honest and accurate as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
And
well, it's really edgy in its use of just explicit drug use. And so when I first saw that, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to watch the show. Just because they felt that they could go there. So
That's
where
what's-
else could you go?
Right.
It's scary that everybody's like, yeah, your character's so relatable. I'm like, what about all the... what does that say about you?
Well, it's funny. So it's funny, we have a contest here where people can sort of get recruited to join F Society if they complete all these challenges. And over here on this table is one of the stages. And on the table, we sort of had these lines
a line of morphine.
that could or could not have been drugs. And overnight, some of the people came in. They're like, yeah, the corporate's not going to allow that. Okay, we'll substitute for Red Bull. So you can get away with it on air, but not at Tribeca.
Yeah. I will say, I mean, when we were shooting the pilot, I knew it was going to be really cool. I'm like, this show is dope. I hope people see it. And I just thought, but who's going to watch a show where we talk about like onion routing protocol and
Well,
Tor
honestly,
networking?
When I first read the pilot, I'm like, this is the perfect show for me. I've been waiting for a show like this, and I knew that, like, personally, I thought we had something special. I just was surprised that everyone else jumped on board and did want to see a show about, Tor and hacking and the onion routing protocol.
Well, because in reality, all that technology is just to get you to know about the characters and move the plot along. But you've made this conscious decision, or Sam's made this decision, to make it really authentic. So how much of a pain in the ass is that?
That's a core question.
Yeah, definitely.
It takes a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort. I would say I put as much work into the authenticity as I do into the dialogue and the writing of the scripts. It's by design. When we're breaking the story, we take into account, all right, that is the hack that we're using a realistic account? Has it been done before? Do we have evidence of it being done before? If so, we'll incorporate it. Can we find screens or stories of this being done before, and how do we execute it?
Yeah, okay, I noticed you'd reference like Ashley Madison. And so like you're working in current events, right? So
And that was in the pilot. I mean, that
Actually-
was pre any of that stuff.
It was before he wrote it into the pilot, and he wrote it into episode 10, and the actual Ashley Madison hack occurred, I think, when episode 9 aired. So that's just a weird,
So do you think Sam's involved with that?
possibly,
He did have an account, but only for research.
only for research purposes.
That's what I understand. Yeah.
He's gonna love that.
He's watching this right now, and
I'm
he's
sure he
shaking his head.
I didn't say that, for the record.
Yeah, right.
I didn't say it either.
You know the thing about Ashley Madison, when we were doing the pilot and I was, breaking this guy down, Michael Hansen, I just thought that was one of the girls he was sleeping with. I was just like, I even know her name. It's Ashley Madison. But I had no idea that was a website until the finale when the hack actually happened. in real life. So
Yeah.
No, and also the Sony hack, I believe, happened the week that we got picked up to series too. So a lot of weird
Right. I mean, so it's like,
synchronicity.
Sam predicts the future.
yeah.
It's really freaky.
So would you? Yeah, he's not really human then.
No, when our finale was supposed to air and it ended up getting pushed because of what happened, Sam called me to tell me, and I was like, you need to write an episode about world peace and where every single problem is fixed
Right.
and nothing bad happens.
Right. And the good guys win. And
Yeah.
so I've got this question for Christian. So I'm, of course, a longtime fan, first-time caller. But from Heathers was a hugely influential movie to me because I was socially isolated. I was probably socially isolated, whatever. But in that show, your character is really trying to blow up a high school,
Yeah,
and now you're trying to blow up a company.
right.
So,
Stakes
are you selecting
gotten
these
larger.
roles?
Larger stakes, right?
You like to blow shit up.
I love it.
So-
I love it.
So the one thing I noticed is the characters seem to really have a connection with sort of anti-establishment or anti-authoritarian or maybe a sense of injustice. And so I'm wondering, is that something you're also maybe personally involved in, or those are themes that you respond to, or are they just really motivating and great to work with as an actor?
I mean, they are fun characters to play, absolutely. Being an anarchist is very exciting, and certainly to channel it in the direction that I've been fortunate enough to be able to channel it in is I think lucky for all of us. Yeah. I mean, if I didn't have this as an outlet and was just sitting at home thinking about ways to fix all the problems of the world, we might. It's better this way. Absolutely.
The social safety valve is what you're saying.
That's right. I have that outlet. It's very good.
So you're welcome, America.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Thanks, Sam Esmail, for that.
So I want to congratulate Carly for her role change. So I followed you, or should I say my wife followed you, and I guiltily watched your character in your suburgatory role. Yeah. But I remember watching that character thinking, oh man, I mean, that's a pretty tight cast character. Like, you're going to have to escape that if you want to continue. Next thing I know, you're like grunged out, smoking a cigarette, like kicking indoors and hacking shit. I'm like, that'll probably work, as a character change. So what drew you to that role change? I mean, it suits you, but how do you go from one end of the spectrum to the other?
Well, one, I really appreciate that. Thank you. I think I always started out wanting to do drama. I never really thought that doing comedy, which I actually love doing comedy. And, for that part, for those of you that don't know, I did a show called Suburgatory where I played a blonde Barbie and had spray tans and wore pink tight clothes and talked like this. And, and it was a great, funny show. But I was so shocked when they even wanted me for that. So, but actually, one of my favorite stories is, one, as an actor, I want to be able to play out anything and everything.
Yeah.
And, that was so much fun to do, but not as artistically and creatively fulfilling as this is. But one of my favorite stories is Susie Ferris, the casting director for this, went to Sam and Chad, our executive producer, and was like, I want you to see Carly for this. And they were like, are you kidding?
Oh, you mean like, are you kidding?
Are you kidding? Like that. They were like, absolutely not. Like, no way. It turned into like a whole thing. They were like, you clearly don't know what we want for this character. Like, this girl is like a blonde, whatever. And she was like, no, she's super cool. She has like 13 tattoos. Like, just trust me. And so they, Chad was telling me, like, it turned into a really big thing. And so finally they said, okay. And, I had dyed my hair brown right after I was done with that show and came in with them being like so pissed off that I was even walking into the room, which I think is really cool now. But I had no idea about it. But so, and then, I read with them and they were like, okay. But it is so much fun to be able to play both of those things and have people see me on literally opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, it's like a double take.
Yeah.
That was cool. Okay, so I want to ask sort of a panel question here. Anybody can take it if I can find it from all these cards. We got all these questions from our Facebook page and Twitter. So are you concerned that you're portraying maybe hacking as being too easy? I mean, Elliot just kind of kicks in the door and hacks some shit up, and next thing you know, he's like in the jail, he's in the phone, he's in the person's life. And it's authentic because of the work you're doing, but it looks really simple.
It is.
And it is simple, but what I mean is, are you worried that might be encouraging other people to go do, take down Evil Corp?
You know what, I think, sorry, I'm just going to say really fast. I think it's almost cool that people look at it and go, oh, this is simple. Why don't you go try it and see how
hard it is.
unsimple it is. That I think it actually promotes more people to try and investigate what it actually is, and it is
Raises
harder
people's levels of awareness of
learning.
the issue, absolutely, because it is something that is possible.
Yeah.
So.
To echo that, I do think we're the first show that actually shows a hacker failing multiple times before they finally get to it. A good example is in episode 5 when he is trying to break into the prison. His first attempt doesn't work. He tries to do the Wi-Fi attack. That doesn't work. He tries, eventually they drop the USB drive and someone picks up the USB drive and is able to plug it in. So we do show different steps of trial and error before it finally does work. But what we do fudge a little bit is just the timing. For dramatic purposes. We'll jump from him bringing up a command line interface and then 5 seconds later, he's into a PLC running a Ruby script or whatever,
Right,
so
right. But this is
exactly right, Christian.
It's another language, right? I mean,
But
this was like the challenge of when I first got the script, I only had like a few days to sort of memorize all of this technical stuff, and I Wikipedia'd and Googled all of these things and came in and was all prepared, and then they hired this guy, and he came in and just redoctored everything, and all these terms that I had just learned just went completely out the window, and because it's always evolving, right?
It's always evolving, and
Yeah.
I remember having this chat with Sam when we were talking about the whole Evil Corp hack for season 1, and he asked me, he was like, "How would you do it?" So I went over, I listed all the targets, I listed the attack vectors, and I said, all right, we'd have a data center in the US, we'd have a redundant data center in China, and we'd have off-site backups like Steel Mountain, and here are the different ways that we'd go after it. And it kind of restructured how we viewed what Elliot and F Society were working toward, and kind of gave us a good
give you
good
sort of a roadmap
Yeah.
to get there. Well, and this passage of time problem seems to suck on all hacking movies, like the movie Hackers. Give it up for Hackers. Right? So,
I know we make fun of hackers, but I love hackers.
I love
It's
Hackers.
a
Well,
fun movie.
people don't realize every character in that movie was based on a real hacker, except Angelina Jolie, because there weren't any hot hackers. But they tried to portray the time by this weird kaleidoscope, kind of psychedelic, like traveling through a time window.
Ooh, computer.
Yeah, it's like, I get it, time's passing, right? Or like the movie Swordfish, where the guy's having wine and he's drunk and he's hacking the cybernetic virus, right?
Yeah.
People do this in really bad ways, but you guys have actually tried to portray time more accurately. Like your character, Elliot, would say things like, I don't have enough time to do this. I don't have enough time to prepare.
To research.
Yeah, and we don't have to fly through space for that.
And I honestly, Hackers is one of the movies that inspired me to get into computers, and I was really disappointed when I realized that I can't fly through a Tron-like directory structure. Like it's actually much more boring than the movie.
Right, the rollerblades don't fit your feet.
Well, Sam often comes up to me before a scene of hacking or anything like that, or even in Steel Mountain a lot. He was like, just remember, you're not Jack Bauer, okay? It's okay to not be able to do everything perfectly.
Well, no, that's the flaw that makes your character so approachable, right? It's that realism, the authenticity that we're so hungry for. And I'm curious, as you're thinking about this, you guys really will be creating the prototype for other shows to emulate. I mean, anytime there's a successful show, there's always 5 others that kind of want to be like that. So the first time there was a token hacker on a show in the forensics lab, now everybody has a token hacker in the forensics lab. But now you have a real hacking storyline, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of other shows. So it's really exciting. You're the pioneers in this area.
But no one will do it as good as we do.
That's right.
And
Does that drive you now, or are you just like you have to tune it out and be in the moment?
I don't think, I mean, I think for me, like the most important thing about the show is just it being honest and authentic, and, you know, hacking and computers and all the technological stuff is a part of it, but that falls under the category of the truth, you know, and
And the
focusing-
humanity of it too. I mean, that
Yeah.
is one thing like Sam said from day one is like, this is definitely a show about technical things, but you know, it really is driven, I think,
But that's the vehicle to have
for
these
the
other
characters
Yeah.
and
It's
the
about-
story development and the interaction between everybody.
It's about character and connection, and I do think that other shows will attempt to emulate it, but I mean, this is to Sam's credit. I mean, they need to have producers on staff that will give the time, like, will
To your credit,
Yeah, I mean, and it's done in such a unique way. It's like shooting a scene, you know, there's no green screens. You know, you guys take the time to actually write all the code
Yeah.
and I mean, the coordinated effort that goes into shooting some of the scenes, like I sit back and I just go, wow,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Well, and they let us take the time to create these flash animations that you know take weeks to develop, and we go through multiple iterations, and we shoot everything practically. Sam doesn't like to burn in anything in post, which most of these other hacking shows and films have done.
So the actors are working with like a green screen,
Yeah.
and that's it. I mean, yeah, that was
like
great.
you guys are staring at real code when
Incredible.
you guys are doing these scenes. So.
Right.
yeah, so the other day, we obviously have a hack, and Core was walking me through the whole process of it, and, you know, because all of it's programmed and we kind of are actually reading it and seeing everything that's happening, and it's not just like jibber jabber stuff, it's actually, right, like what it would look like if we were actually hacking it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was sitting there just being like, how the hell did you do this?
Yeah.
And I was like, how long did this take you? And he was like, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, and it's going to be on screen for 0.5 seconds. But like Sam says, in those 0.5 seconds, it's real.
Yeah, and
Right.
for those 0.5 seconds, the Reddit community, and I'm sure some people sitting in the audience today, will screenshot it and pick it apart and tweet about it and say, here's where you messed up. And then Sam's going to email me about it, and
Yeah.
it'll give
that-
me a lot of
that
stress.
Scanning code, right? That scanning code.
Yeah.
Like if you screenshot that
And scanned it.
I won't say what it is, but I mean, like that's great. It is detailed.
We have a lot of Easter eggs like that, especially in
Oh,
season
man.
2.
Yeah,
where-
so the other movie that reminds me of is Blade Runner, where like even the magazines on the stands in the background had real covers, and they would never be really captured. But it's
we got some
creating
good covers in this season, actually. Yeah, we do. They're pretty, From
Yeah,
the-
creating that layer, the contextual layer, I think just adds to the depth of it all. And so we were talking a little bit before this, and I always liked trying to find Easter eggs you alluded to. And so Tyrell,
Yeah,
right?
Tyrell Corporation.
More human than human.
Yep.
Blade Runner, I'm
Yeah.
like, awesome. But he's not a replicant, is he? Probably not. So what other, like, can you reveal any of do you all like to sneak Easter eggs in the work you do?
I love to sneak Easter eggs in every single screen. So for people if you guys can find them, there's a lot of Easter eggs and a lot of code breaking and a lot of cool little cipher messages, especially in season 2. There are a lot in season 1 as well. But
Yeah, I remember Sam told me in season.
I'm just laughing because I just recently learned what Easter eggs are.
Me too.
I'm laughing at myself. It's embarrassing. Yeah.
I learned it last week.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm right there with
That's
you.
I'm like, yeah, Easter
Yeah.
egg,
Oh,
whatever.
Easter egg. I
Yeah.
see. Okay. That's great.
But last year, Sam had told me, like at the very end, about your scarf hanging up on the back of Elliot's door
Oh yeah.
throughout the whole season.
Whoa. Right.
Did you know that?
And I didn't notice that for quite a while.
That's amazing. Yeah. Little detail.
actually, I'm not sure if you guys know this, but in the Real F Society arcade, some of the arcade game names are real hacking groups. So we have like the Lizard Squad game, and I mean, they're not here, but on set, we have the Lizard Squad game, we have the Syrian Electronic Army, and some cool little Easter eggs.
Soul
there, too.
something. What is that?
Oh, what was that? Soul. Soul
There are,
Fairy.
yeah.
The duck one?
No, that's Mallard Murder. That's
Yeah, man, that's not a real thing? Okay.
Well, everything is there for a reason, and even the lenses we shoot on, they're purposeful in the way that everything behind in the background shows up, almost in focus most of the time, and that's not the way a lot of other shows shoot. But all the details are there for a reason. So,
Well, going back to my favorite movie, Blade Runner, the Harrison Ford character delivers a voiceover in a very flat tone, which kind
Certain versions, right?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's-
right. Because
Is that the Ridley Scott version, or is
so the story goes,
Yeah.
he didn't want to have to do the
your favorite.
voiceover because he didn't like it. He didn't want to have to spoon,
Ridley?
Yeah, no,
Right.
Harrison Ford didn't
Harrison.
want to have to spoon feed the American audience.
Right.
And the studio was like, no, the American audience doesn't
need it, we
understand
need
it.
it,
They
yeah.
need this voiceover. So he delivered this super flat tone, and he was so convinced it was so terrible that the studio would never use it.
Yeah.
And they said, great, and they took
It works
that one into the
perfectly,
movies.
yeah.
But so now when I listen to Elliot's voiceover, it's also very flat and kind of monotone in its delivery, and I'm thinking you're using that as a tool to view into your sort of psychology, your emotional state. Is that intentional, like when you're trying to be, just like the way sometimes you lack like a facial emotion when you're delivering your lines, because it's to show the, okay, I'm going to
no, I mean, I thought they'd never use my voiceover either.
Yeah.
That was on purpose. No.
I mean, you're the only character with a voiceover.
I like what Sam says too. Is that because in most writing classes they'll always say
Right.
voiceover. You never use that. Don't ever use that. You can't do that. And he just says go completely, obviously, against that. And it's a brilliant way to get into Elliot's psyche and what's happening. I think it's used, and he uses it in a very unique and special way.
It is, yeah, it is. I mean, it's funny people say that, and then some of my favorite movie, Taxi Driver, has
Yeah.
voiceover in it.
Clockwork Orange has
Yeah.
voiceover. Like some really great movies utilize voiceover.
It is nice to like position, my facial expressions against what I think, I know it's gonna sound like in the voiceover.
And that's
so.
technically handled well also. I mean, like while we're shooting the scene, we have it in our heads to hear what the voiceover is.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
right?
It's just not ADR like a month later. No.
Well, the hardest thing is like doing a scene with Rami. We'll go over it
It's
before.
doing a scene with me.
Yeah, it's like so hard.
That's it.
Yeah, in general.
Period. Stop.
Yeah. And next question. And I go over it before and have him tell me his voiceover, because then we'll be doing a scene and there's moments where we're just like,
Waiting it out.
well, I'm just like waiting for him to finish his voiceover
Yeah.
so I can like
You're
start
like,
again.
hello, is anybody in
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
Been a lot of fun ways to find to figure out how to cue people too.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Well, I either make a lot of eye contact, I think, or none at all. So it's usually just a slight eye movement. Where it's like,
I think I told you that there's that Twitter game. It's the Mr. Robot drinking game. It's drink every time Elliot blinks, and you're like stone sober for 3 episodes.
Oh no. That's great.
I heard he told me. He
Fun
told me
game.
before.
That's great.
I blink. They just get edited out.
So Christian, your character doesn't even exist, right?
What are you doing here?
How does that make you feel? No. How do you accurately portray that? How is?
I'm as real as Elliot makes me out to be, really. And in this respect, I think he as much as he resists it and fights it, I think the more resistance that's there, the stronger, and more.
You have to come on, kind of.
Yeah, and the more real it becomes. I mean, I never certainly looked at it as though I wasn't there. I always just, bless you, played it as I was there and present, and there was never any attempt to sort of pretend like I wasn't there.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Carly, so did you know you were Elliot's sister, or did they kind of keep that from you, and then it was a reveal, or how do you play the role keeping that secret, and does it kind of come through in any?
I knew
Anyway.
from the very beginning, before I got the job actually, because I had like one line in the pilot. So to sign on to a show, Sam was, really explained to me what this character was and who she was and what was going to happen. And so it was I wouldn't have been able to do it without knowing that information, because every interaction we have, I'm interacting with him like he's my brother. Right. And so, once the reveal came out, so many people were like, oh, I want to go back and watch it knowing that.
Right.
And you can go back and watch it and realize that that's the relationship we have. It was very hard to keep that in. So many people were like, who is this girl? And
What
she's
a
so
bitch.
annoying. Yeah. She has no boundaries. And I was like, oh. And then,
Just you wait.
yeah, I would like call Rami and be like, everyone hates me.
Ah,
And then, so I was really excited for that to come out, because once it did, everyone, was like, okay, now you make sense. Now I get it. Now, I understand. And so, and now, they kept my character kind of mysterious to really heighten that reveal, which was
Yeah, it was
awesome.
really well managed, but I was wondering, like, how do you kind of keep that inside? So,
We keep a lot of things inside.
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I have one more question, and then we're going to go do some audience questions. We also have some questions from our Facebook and other venues. One was, so a lot of actors and actresses, they keep mementos from shows and casts and sets. Some characters like Harrison Ford, which I don't understand, he just is done with the show and he's done with it. Like he
No,
just
isn't he like eBaying his jacket
he
from
just
Star
eBayed
Wars?
his Han Solo jacket.
I know. I'm bummed I missed out on that.
How much?
It's super crazy where other people keep them. So I want to hear from each one of you. From season 1, what would you keep as a memento, if there is something?
I did keep the mask, and I was like the only person. One of the last scenes we did was a protest scene, and so they had all of the things that were like F Society and just all the different things. And I was like, can I take one of these home? And they're like, yeah, we're just gonna throw it away. So I took one of the big
Oh, the big one?
F Society like cardboard things home and a mask.
And
Now
then you
everyone's
threw a
jealous.
party that night. And
Yeah,
Yeah, end of the world party.
yeah.
Yeah, the hat actually was mine. So,
You gotta keep it though.
yeah, I mean, well, now, I do. Yeah, I keep it. Yeah, it's my hat. Yeah. You have anything?
I
keep
don't-
like a rack of servers.
Yeah, Darlene's laptop or Elliot's laptop would be cool. I would love to have a mask. That'd be awesome, like one of the original
I don't
masks.
know why no one else took one.
I
I was the only one.
didn't know you were allowed to take one. Otherwise, I would have taken one.
She takes whatever.
Hackers don't ask.
You just asked.
True.
The hoodie that I wear in the pilot is my hoodie, and it's been replicated, and I wanted to take that back, but no one will let me anymore.
You should seriously start a fashion line of that hoodie because it is quite a hit.
It's in the works.
Yeah. I thought that was really authentic because your character is always carrying his backpack around. And I always have my backpack around. And so I don't know whether you did that in purpose or not, but you always keep your tech close to you because you never know who's going to fuck with it. And I just thought that was really cool that you guys did that. Either that or he's just got a lot of drugs and he doesn't want to let go of them.
I think he could survive out of that backpack for
It's
a
like
month.
the man bag from Jack Bauer, right? Everything is in that bag to solve any problem.
Except you're not Jack Bauer.
No. I get it.
Okay, let's go to the audience. So what I want to do is get a couple of questions, and then if you have a really silly question, I'm going to ignore you, and then so we can stick to some other. So okay, I see this lady in the middle here.
Hi. I don't know if you can answer this or not, but what was your favorite scene to shoot and what was the hardest scene to shoot for all of you?
I feel like I just keep talking so much.
They pay you for that.
Blah, blah. For me, the hardest scene to shoot was our scene with the brother and sister when that came out. It was really important. It was such a big moment, and I wanted to do it justice. And it definitely had the ability to turn into a cheesy soap opera moment where it's like, I'm your sister. You're
Dun,
my
dun,
sister.
dun.
Yeah. And so it was, really important to keep that like real and authentic and to really go there and have everybody feel what I was feeling and see that and do it justice. That was the hardest.
Was that also, and then what was the most fun?
None of them. I'm just kidding. What was the most fun?
One when you just got to rip loose and it just kind of.
It's all been really fun. There was one I got to just play skee ball in the arcade when I was like waiting for him to get back. That was pretty fun.
You got to what?
I was just like, they made the skee ball one work. And so the whole scene, I just got to play skee ball.
That's cool. I like skee ball. Skee ball is fun.
Do that today.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know, Times Square is what's popping into my head right now. Just
Against that big American flag?
yeah.
That was really iconic.
Oh, yeah, that was I'm a native New Yorker, and to get the opportunity to shoot something in the city like that was at that location, at that time of night, and see what was going on after midnight in the city was just exciting. And I just loved the scene that Sam wrote. And again, of course, working with Rami was amazing. So yeah, that was an exciting way to kind of like wrap it up, I thought. It was fun.
Right back at you.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun. It was like we blocked off a huge, corner of Manhattan
Yeah.
in Times Square, which that's a yeah,
That's a big deal.
pretty pricey piece of real estate. And then, but no one really knew who we were yet. The show, I mean, it was out, but no, they were like, "Who's doing this? Some guy wearing a hoodie
Like,
and
Mr. What?
and a homeless guy? Like they're letting this homeless guy in, but we can't." So that was cool.
That was fun. Yeah, that was great.
That was fun. The
The whole
cemetery
thing,
scene
though,
was
too,
really
right? I mean,
hard.
yeah. Working at Coney Island, of course, is phenomenal. Like, to get the opportunity to do that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all
I was thinking real hackers probably aren't going to commute back and forth from Coney Island, but when you can just do it in a jump cut, that was pretty awesome.
That was great. But the train is fantastic. It lets you off right there.
It does.
Last stop.
It's just a long train ride.
It is. It's pleasant. You can relax, kick
Let's
back.
take another question. Gentleman in the back.
Hey guys, congratulations on your wonderful show. This is Archon from My New York Eye. You guys are wonderful. This is such a great show. I wonder that after the show, has your personal lives changed in any way, the way you look at cybersecurity or internet and emails and your phones as everyday people? And as storytellers, as actors, how do you feel about this important message that the show gives to the country and the world?
You want to go for that?
I don't know. I mean,
Do you now get really paranoid and
yeah, definitely. I mean, it certainly raised my level of awareness, and I mean, I've signed on to every credit check thing you could possibly have. To be honest with you, I mean, I'm much more aware, and I'm grateful for it. In fact, it made me start to think about, my kids and who they're talking to. And I mean, the internet is obviously a powerful, wonderful piece of technology, but it can be manipulated and used in terrible ways. So, fortunately, I am involved and know people like Core, and, he introduced me to Teen Safe, which is a great thing to install to sort of keep track with your kids' consent and knowledge.
Legal.
Yeah, it's legal, and at least until she's 18, I'm going to be monitoring who my daughter's talking to on the internet. There's no doubt about it, and honestly, it's come in quite handy.
she is your daughter after all?
What's that?
She is your daughter after
She's
all.
great, but I mean, you just have to be careful. There's a lot of trolls out there, and is that the right?
Yeah, you can say that.
So, you just really have to, safeguard and keep an eye out for them as much as
I
possible.
remember it was we had just shot that scene from episode 3 where Terrell hacks Anwar's phone. He
Yes.
roots an Android phone, and we
Yeah.
were in the van, and you asked me, you're like, "Is that real? Can someone do that?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, totally.
There you go.
The way we portrayed it is pretty real. It's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, can I do this to my kids?
That's right. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I think we can find a legal option for your kids that will work better. So
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked out.
Thank you, dude. No,
Well,
it's
I noticed.
gold.
I noticed Rami has like a really low social media profile, and it's like, well, is that because you don't care about social media, or you're being really paranoid?
Oh, I love social media. Yeah, I'm a little paranoid about putting everything out there. I mean, it just seems like you're offering up all the info for people to take advantage.
You
This
never
show's
know.
made me very, very paranoid.
Well, because it's, like we've been talking about, it's not one of the shows where it's like pigs flying in Mars. Like, everything we do is possible. And so knowing...
Sometimes actually happening while we're doing
Right.
it. Like it's
Right.
happening in the world,
Right.
It's been pretty crazy. Sorry.
So, like, knowing what I didn't before this, like, I had no idea or really understood what hackers are capable of the endless possibilities of what can happen. And so now it's so on the forefront of my mind. Like, I was trying to fix my Apple TV internet and was like seeing the other people's, and I was like, if I just found out their like IP address and they're like, and I was like literally thinking about, I'm like, wanted to ask Core, like, how would you, every single place I go, I like think of the possibilities of like what I could do.
Yeah.
And like what's possible. So it is scary.
Yes. Yeah.
There are times when Sam's on the phone with me, and I'm like, are you sure you want to be talking about this right now?
Right.
Or should we do this IRL?
AFK. Yeah. Yeah.
Our last 3 or 4 scripts aren't online anywhere. That's all like hand to hand. And I felt like I was in the CIA the other day.
Yeah, that's right. Is Ham's handwriting nice, or does he actually use a typewriter?
It's like a doctor.
Okay, yeah, let's do another question from the audience, right here in the front.
Hi guys, thanks for coming. If you had to pick out a theme song for your characters, what song would you choose?
This is a deep psychological, yeah.
It's a great question.
I mean,
I noticed you played The Cure on one episode. That was fantastic. You have some pretty good song selection on the show to begin with.
wow. That's a big
Pictures
question.
of you? Oh, yeah, it was
It's a hard question.
That was a good one.
I mean, the Joker.
Yeah.
I'm a lover. I'm a sinner.
Go for it. Come on.
Yeah.
I play my music.
Full voice, please.
I think I would say, well, I have a Darlene playlist, but I think is Hurricane by Bob Dylan.
Hurricane, yeah, deep.
Good one.
Okay, there's another question back here. This gentleman.
Wait, Neil Diamond.
Oh,
If you stay, is that what it's called?
I think so, yeah.
Sam's gonna kill me for not knowing.
Yeah.
I was wondering, with all of the hobbies that you guys have, like the lock picking that you guys showed, which is what we do, did you guys take any of that with you after the show? Like, you had any interest in that after the show was over, exploring it as a hobby, like the lock picking, social engineering, any of that kind of stuff?
Lock picking out of necessity. Yeah.
yeah.
Social. You know what I find myself doing is just studying people's, and it's sad and weird, but I'll be at the airport and constantly like just logging people's information from them having their IDs out, and I'm like, why are you doing that?
Right.
That's so creepy. But it's just a product of.
It's like you've been
working on
infected
this,
now.
yeah. But I don't think it's a hobby. I hope not.
I mean, I got Hacking for Dummies before we started, because I actually really wanted to kind of learn and understand, and thought, when's a better opportunity to learn about hacking and computers than this? So I got this one book and read the first 3 pages 500 times, and I was like, what are they talking about? And it was like, this is literally harder than learning German. So I was like, I'm just gonna get Hacking for Dummies and see where that takes me.
Stick with it. Well, because your character is, I mean, outside.
But you were talking about hacking for dummies.
Your character is like sort of the modern television version of Liz Ann Sanders, the girl with the dragon tattoo. And so, I mean, whether you like it or not, right, they're going to imitate you. And so does that give you a sense of, it's power because you're the pioneer? And I think I asked that question in a slightly different way earlier, but it's really refreshing for a lot of us to see the range and the depth. And so we did something for you. We have on staff a DEF CON artist who's also a badass actor, and she's just right over here, Mar. Woo!
Mar.
And so,
All right.
so we produced this piece of art for you
Ooh.
from DEF CON to F Society and
Oh,
you
beautiful.
guys.
Yeah.
And we all signed it, and or
Cool.
we will sign it, and we just hope that maybe you hang it up on a wall in your office, in your writing room or something. So we just want to get it in your
awesome.
hands before this is all over. So
Thank
here,
you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful.
That is so cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's so cool.
Wait, I still think I have to sign it because I was upstairs sweating over the questions I was going to grill you guys on.
All right.
Okay, so do we have time for one more question? We do. Okay, so I want to go to Deviant Olem, the guy who's really responsible for a lot of the lockpick hacking back there and bringing that to the masses.
Thank you, DT, and thank you for everyone being here. This kind of applies to all the acting talent, mostly to Hard Harry, but you've been kind of, we don't want to use a word like typecast, but you've adopted and been really beloved by this sort of snarky, irreverent guy, that character. And yet, it's usually, that's the kind of thing that could be dismissed, but you make it serious? Do you think that can only go, do you feel slotted in that role? Do you think it only goes so far? Are there other roles that you would rather have that you maybe missed out on? And do the folk who are now getting so much fame in these very specific genres, do you feel that specter of being typecast as well? And do you steer into it? Or, I guess that's the job, right? But how do you feel about that?
I mean, look, that movie, Pump Up the Volume, was certainly one that I loved. The character was, I thought, well crafted, and look, it's I think unfortunately a continual theme. We need anarchists, I think, to stand up and fight back against injustice and things that are wrong. And unfortunately, until we figure everything out, that's just going to keep being the case. And we need that one voice. And back then, like same with Heather's. Back then the technology that I had available to me was a ham radio. And just trying to take down another school, I guess. Yeah. So look, the stakes just keep getting larger, and the issues keep getting bigger. But I think there'll always be room for that particular voice.
You've played a multitude of different roles.
True.
Yeah,
I did premiere a movie here last night that it's called King Cobra, and definitely a different sort of character. Yeah. Head of a gay porn industry. That's.
What did your wife say when she read it?
She said, "You have to do that." Yeah. Well, I was a little bit of an anarchist there, but yeah, no, definitely different.
I think there's another gentleman here in line.
Hi, congrats on season 1, but it took me 3 weeks after I finished it to find the post-credit scene. My question is, were you guys nervous about putting that in? Whose idea was that? Were you afraid that, maybe no one's actually going to see it? Because I found it just because someone tweeted about it.
I believe that was Sam's idea, because he wanted it to feel, he wants the whole show to feel very cinematic. I know to him it's more of this is a 10-hour movie, and a post-credits coda is something that was appealing to him. I think the network executives were a little concerned about it at first, so they did try and get the word out, I think, when we did premiere the finale, to stick around. And I know that they were tweeting about it, and yeah, so I think that was all Sam.
Well, and you were mentioning for season 2, the way you're shooting, it's like a movie.
Yeah, we're block shooting season 2. So we're shooting scenes from episode 2, episode 7, episode 9, all in a day. And
Yeah, I've never had an experience like this where we finished season 1, And then the writers took a couple months off and then sat in a room for the next 3-4 months and wrote the entire second season. So when we came back, we were handed a script that was this thick, and we just did the read-through over 2 days, and all were on the same page. And
We had an 8-hour table. We had a 5-hour table read and then an 8-hour table read.
Right. So, I mean,
So for those like me that aren't maybe familiar, is that unusual?
yeah. I mean, usually somebody, a creator, will do a pilot, show gets going, and then he's like, oh my God, they picked it up. Now what do I do? Sam, from the get-go, I think, has just had this whole thing kind of mapped out, and when you sit down with him, you can get an insight into where each and every character is going over a considerable period of time.
But normally in TV, just, you film episode 1, and then you do episode 2, and you film it in order, and then each week you have a table read for the next episode.
And then how far in advance, like when's the soonest you get audience feedback? Like your third episode in, and now you can get the feedback so you can adjust the script for? Or does that feedback cycle never really happen?
We could air it after the entire season was filmed. I don't think we'd adjust it. It's so specific.
Yeah, and I think Sam also, it's not for the, it's not
It's Sam's
tried
vision.
for the audience
not,
to be happy.
Yeah, it's like they wrote the season, this is it. It's not like, we'll screen an episode and then wait to hear. There's no, like he said, we're shooting it as a film. It's called block shooting, and so we'll do, on Monday, we'll come in and do a scene from episode 202, 204, 207, because we happen to be at that particular location.
For example, if we did this for last season, every single scene that we filmed at the arcade, we would have done all at once, of every single episode.
And so when you do that, I guess maybe for technically, that's a super, the continuity is really important then, right? Because you might
Definitely.
bonk your head or be
yeah.
punched in the face. So in one scene, you've got a black eye, and the next one you don't, and then you have a suit on. And
The continuity is huge, and just where these guys are, like where their heads emotionally, I'm amazed every day that they're able to adapt and change. Like, okay, all right, we just shot this scene from 206. Now we're going to go back in time and shoot a scene from 202, and they're able to adapt in that way. It's phenomenal. So
You really have to know exactly where you're at.
That's what's great about having Sam there.
A lot of times I'm like, what episode are we in?
I know. Yeah, there's
a big sign.
There's no other way I think it could be done, because usually you get a new director every week, and the fact that Sam is doing every episode, it's like, he was there in the first season 98% of the time. Now he's there 100% of the time, and just to help keep us on track and where we just came from and where we're going.
Yeah, I'd have to say, I would never want to shoot like this if he wasn't involved.
Right? Yeah. That'd be really tough.
Yeah.
So block shooting's where it's at.
I would
No, I don't know. I wouldn't want to do it if Sam wasn't
If
there.
Sam wasn't there, no.
I
if
would
you
never
need,
wanna do it.
one guy, and it
Yeah.
needs to be coming out of his head. If we had a different
Yeah.
director coming in every week, it would be impossible for them, because they'd be working on 10 episodes that week. So.
Okay, so we're winding down on time. I really want to thank you for taking the time, coming here and engaging with us. It's been fantastic.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having
you, guys.
us. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. That's it, yeah?
Thank you.
All right.